What is up, my beautiful, beautiful peach? Today, we are going to be talking all about why I don't believe that emotional eating is actually bad. I work with quite a few clients in my BPM coaching who struggle with emotional eating, struggle with binge eating, and I'm actually going to kind of walk you through what I do with my clients because emotional eating is not just mentally hard and obviously emotionally hard, but it also impacts our body and how we feel and how we are showing up every single day. So I want to really start this out by saying that food makes us happy, and that's okay. I used to claim that I didn't like certain foods because I thought they were bad. I thought that, I shouldn't have some sort of emotional attachment to food, and I don't believe that anymore. Food is how we celebrate milestones. It's how we connect with loved ones. It's how we sometimes find comfort in tough moments. And that's okay, okay? The diet world loves to label emotional eating as bad or say that you need to stop your emotional eating, but I genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that it is not an inherently wrong thing to do, okay? The key is to learn how to actually work with your emotions and work with that food rather than against them, okay? So we're gonna start out by talking about, let me actually go down to my notes here. Well, this is probably a good way to start here. I do have this in here. I was going to skip past it. So, food is more than just fuel at times, and that's okay. The diet industry preaches that food is just fuel, and I preach that food is fuel, not just fuel. But it's also a way to celebrate joy, to have comfort during hard times, like I just mentioned, to have that connection with our loved ones. And so, emotionally eating only becomes like a true challenge when it's your only coping mechanism for dealing with your emotions, and also if it's leading to binge patterns, okay, to binge patterns. So we're gonna talk a little bit about why the food is bad mentality is actually toxic first, and then we're gonna get a little bit dig a little bit deeper here, okay? So diet world is teaching us that, there are certain foods that we should or should not be eating, which could be, hey, don't eat the bad foods like the carbs, like the foods that contain sugar, like having a glass of wine, like the chips and salsa. So all of these things that probably bring you joy and probably make you happy, you are now associating with being a bad food, okay? So right off the bat, there are foods that you feel are bad foods, okay? Therefore, you are now having guilt around enjoying certain food items. And this is a cycle where this is kind of like a double whammy here. So we have this idea that there are certain foods that we should not be eating because they are bad foods, okay? And so when emotions come into play, there's a cycle that actually starts where we have this emotional eating. We think I can't have these bad foods, but I'm really, 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 really just like, it's been a day and I so badly want to have, some chocolate, or I want some ice cream. That would just make me feel so good right now. But we're thinking, no, these foods are absolutely awful. I should not be eating these. So what happens is we have the emotional eating. We eat the ice cream, we eat the Oreos, whatever it might be. We now think, well, shoot, I'm already off track. I just want to keep going. This is making me feel good. We have the full on binge, then followed by the restriction, and then or technically the shame, and then the restriction happens, and that's going to start again, okay? So when we are not, instead of seeing the emotional eating as a bad food, we actually have to realize that it's a normal part of being a human, that emotions can be connected to food, and we can use it as a tool to plan ahead for enjoyment, but also for emotions, okay? So talking about the planning ahead piece here, here's my thing. With my clients, there are times where you can plan ahead. If you have an amazing week and you want to go celebrate it, you want to go get tacos and margaritas with your friends, do it. Do it. Plan it into your macros and go the heck out there and enjoy your heart out, okay? The key is to try and plan in when you can. Now, not all emotional eating is this way, and we're gonna get to that in just a second, but when you can plan ahead for something, the food becomes something that you can celebrate with and not stress with. And that's why tracking macros is so incredibly phenomenal, because you can be intentional. You can track your macros knowing 110% you are on track with your goals, as long as you are being intentional about what you are fitting into or being intentional planning ahead and fitting those fun things in there so you're staying on track, okay? Now, the added thought here is, oh, I have extra things in my notes I didn't have here. I'm actually gonna skip that because I feel like I've already talked about that. I was just talking about tracking macros and all those pieces there, but what I really wanna talk about is how to handle emotional eating without guilt, okay? So when emotional eating happens, okay, I want you to first and foremost accept the fact, accept those emotions, okay? Trying to ignore or suppress your feelings is only going to make them stronger, okay? So as hard as it is sometimes to really feel the feelings, right? Sometimes we just don't want to feel them, okay? But allowing yourself to experience your emotions without judgment opens up the ability to start to feel them and to start to learn more about them. Thus, you actually are going to start to learn how to regulate them better, okay? We work with your emotions, not against your emotions, okay? So instead of thinking like, I shouldn't feel this way, ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Why am I feeling this? Is there something else going on, okay? And the way that I like to go about macros and actually using food as a way to, using food when you have emotional eating, okay? And let me actually scroll down to the part that I have this in my notes here. I had a few points I want to talk about and I can't seem to find them here. Well, I can't find them in my notes, but that's okay. So what I want you to do when you have difference in emotions, okay? So happy and joyous. Yes, we want to go enjoy and celebrate. Plan that taco and margarita, night out. Plan the dinner out with your significant others. Plan to make cookies with your kiddos or your significant other, and plan it in your meals. Those are happy feelings and you get to enjoy those. And so instead of thinking, this is a bad food, or if I eat this, I will be off track, we start to actually change the way we're thinking about it and saying, no, I can have these. I get to eat these cookies because it brings me joy. I get to have the tacos and margaritas with my friends because I am celebrating. So we have these happy feelings. Now, when we have these sad emotions and we have these, unhappy feelings happening, like coming into our world, often it is not something that we have planned for. So we're not necessarily going to know all of a sudden XYZ has happened. We come home, we're like, wow, man, I would really enjoy some chips and salsa right now. Man, I would love some pizza right now, okay? Two scenarios here. The first one is that you are in a place, let's just pretend that you have been tracking your macros, you have your meals planned out, and you're like, oh gosh, but I really want pizza. Have the pizza. Scenario number one, it's not gonna fit in your macros. That's okay. Give yourself the comfort of knowing that if you are consistent 95% of the time, and I talked about this in the last I think 2 episodes ago and potentially 3 episodes ago, I talk about self-sabotage. The one that I talk about, actually go listen to both of them. So start with the one that's just self-sabotage, the latest episode, and then move on to the self-sabotage and perfectionism episode. Those 2 are really good. But the thing is, if we're having consistency 95% of the time, and you have one day where you're like, oh my gosh, I just want the pizza and wings, get it. You're gonna be okay. But the important piece here is you're gonna eat the pizza because it's gonna give you joy. We also wanna make sure that eating to give us, some comfort in the emotions, to give us some comfort, can be paired with other coping strategies. So journaling, talking to a therapist, going for a walk, calling a friend, doing these other pieces, okay? The goal is to really move ourselves into a place where it doesn't turn into a binge. So we're saying, man, some pizza and wings sounds so good. You fit some into your day, okay? For scenario one, like it's not gonna fit into your macros, that's okay. You have, a slice or 2 of pizza. I'm usually a 2-slice kind of gal. 2 slices of pizza and some wings. And you say, hey, this was so good. This was great. I didn't hit my macros today, but that's okay. And the beauty of it is you have more pizza and wings to fit in your macros for the next day, okay? It's not, I think a lot of people also will kind of get pushed into that all or nothing mentality because it's, we feel, okay, I've already gotten off track. I wanted to get some pizza and wings because that would really, really be some good comfort food right now. But then you think either I shouldn't have this because I will be off track, or I shouldn't have this because it's a bad food. So by rewiring our mind and thinking this isn't a bad food, and also saying, hey, it's okay if I have this one day where I'm not, on point, that's okay. We'll pick up again tomorrow. That allows us to push our mind into a way of feeling like it's okay. We're okay. This is not the end of the world. And we pull back from the self-sabotage and we pull back from the all or nothing. And this allows us to wake up the next day saying, hey, man, that was really good. That tasted great last night. I feel pretty good. I got some good night's sleep. Man, I still want the rest of that pizza. I'm going to fit it into my macros, and you can move on, okay? Second scenario is pretty gosh darn simple. You're tracking your macros. Maybe you had something else planned for dinner. You're like, man, I really want some pizza and wings. You fit it into your macros, and great, awesome, you move on, okay? So we get to celebrate the food, and we get to use food to bring us comfort if we want, to bring us joy. But the important piece is if we are having a hard time with regulating our emotions, it usually means there's kind of like a bigger piece of, it's not the food per se, it's more of the emotion regulation. And I've had clients, I've known people who went to therapy for learning to actually feel their emotions and how to cope with their emotions. So eating foods and like emotional eating can be paired with other coping strategies. If you find yourself literally just sitting there and you're like, I just want to sit here and eat, that's a sign. Get up and let's figure out some other coping mechanisms. I love coloring books. Coloring books are really just like mentally easing for me. So I love my coloring books. I love a good book, or like reading a book, making tea, or Olippops. Olippops are so freaking good. Also gut healthy for you, but they like the little bubbles. I don't know. It's just like a very refreshing thing. So there's other ways that you can find strategies to start regulating and working through those emotions. Okay. Journaling, going for walks, all of those pieces. So I hope this helps. It's the very, very, like a very base level of emotional eating and kind of my perspective here. So very, very base level here, but it's something that I love to work with my clients on because it is such it's like an onion, right? There's more and more. That reminds me of Shrek, like so many layers, like an onion. But there's a lot of layers that go into it. So this is just like the very, very top layer. So if this is something that you struggle with, this is what I do. For my clients who do have emotional eating, we start to really dig into that, where it's happening, how we can work with you on, your food, those triggers, the binging, all those pieces to really start to heal from the inside out. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode, my gal. Please never forget your worth. You are so worthy and wonderful and capable. I believe in you, and I want you to believe in you too. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, beautiful peach.